So thank you for taking the time once again to join me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's I wanted to have a chat with you about the photonic card and the square, because you're a researcher and I watched a video of yours recently and that was really interesting. I wonder if we could go through the same sort of information again, please.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So, should I just share the screen and talk you through it,
That
or
would be really good. Thank you. Yeah,
here we go.
perfect.
Yeah. So, I recently, over the last couple of months, I should say, I've been doing research for a company called Photonic.
Yeah.
They approached me to really analyze how their cards affect the blood. Because as a naturopath and live blood microscopist, I've been looking at blood for over 22 years.
Hmm.
And I get to look at how blood is affected by, diet, nutrition,
Yeah.
and water and supplements, but never really looked at anything that's, in the EMF field.
Hmm.
So I was really intrigued by this when they asked me. So we devised some test structures to look at iPhones, iPads, routers, earbuds, and what else? Smartwatches. So it's been a very interesting journey, to be honest, and I'd love to share this with you.
Mm.
So, as I said, we're looking at these different devices, and we were using the Photonic Square and the Photonic Shield, which is an EMF protection card, but not only protects you, it sort of it smooths out the biofields, so it works in harmony with your body's own electrical field. And this is what we discovered when we did the testing. So, as a live blood microscopist, what we do is we take a pinprick of blood, it's a peripheral blood sample, and we put that blood under the microscope, and we're able to analyze blood. And we can look at the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the plasma. And through that, we get an idea of, how the body is affected by diet and nutrition. And now we know through EMS as well.
Hmm.
So the first test we did was with an iPhone. And the test structure was always the same for every single test we did. So the test subject would arrive and they'd have an hour's orientation in a room without any EMS. So everything was settled, and then we would take their blood. So the first test we did was with the iPhone. The client sat for an hour and we tested their blood. And you can see when we're looking at red blood cells, we want them to be roughly the same shape and size, and we want them to be moving and flowing. And we don't want them to be sort of attracted to each other. The outside of a red blood cell has a net negative charge, and this helps the blood flow so they don't sort of stick and become attracted to each other. And this is a healthy blood sample that we'd want to see. And again, we just took a few pictures. Then I asked the client to go on her mobile phone for 20 minutes only. And I asked her to put the phone up to her ear. And after 20 minutes, again, we took her peripheral blood sample. And this is what her blood looked like after that 20-minute call. And I was quite astounded because I hadn't realized quite how these EMFs can affect our body.
Mm-hmm.
We've all seen the pictures of, babies and young children, how the heat, the radiation goes into their head.
Mm-hmm.
And we know the connection between phone use and brain cancers, for example. This is well documented. But no one's really looked at the blood in such a way.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that red blood cells, it only takes 1 minute for a red blood cell to circulate around the body. So if a red blood cell is affected, in any way where it's affecting the membrane or the outside of the red blood cell, it's going to be traveling around the body and, causing problems as well. But here we can see what's happened is these EMFs have caused the red blood cells to what we call erythrocyte aggregation to really clump together. And this over a long period of time, this is when we're on our phones, some people get very agitated if they're on a long call. They can feel that, it's affecting them. And it can just, make them feel quite agitated and not think clearly. So I asked the lady to go back on her phone, but to use the Photonic Square to put it behind the phone case, which she did for another 20 minutes. And after that call, we redid her blood. And you can see that now her blood was back to basically what it was, at the baseline level. So I was quite astounded by that, because it's after quite a short period of time, really. But the Photonic Square had managed to really smooth out that biofield and all that disruption that was caused by the phone and protect her blood. And so her blood would be circulating. The next test we did was on a router. And, these routers are in people's lounges. And as you said earlier, they're also in people's bedrooms.
Yep.
And, if we're sitting in front of the router all evening, a lot of people don't realize how this could be affecting our health, which I'm going to show you. So the client arrived, same procedure, room orientation phase for an hour. Then we take the blood, and you can see that this client's blood is, is fairly good. It's not too much of attraction and healthy red blood cells. Then I asked the client to go on his router, or sorry, not go on his router, sit in front of the router for 20 minutes, roughly about a foot and a half, 2 feet away from the router, which he did. And after 20 minutes, you can see how his blood changed. So this is, not great. And you can see we had huge clumps of erythrocyte aggregation here with this client. Very badly affected. And I'll just quickly show you the video as well, so you can see. I did take videos. You can see it's clumping together in patches across the sample, which was quite shocking. So I asked the client to, again, sit in front of the router for 20 minutes, but to put the photonic shield in his pocket, which he did. And then we retook the blood, and the blood had not only gone back to, its healthy state, but it had actually improved beyond baseline. And I was really blown away by those results, because I could see that the photonic shield not only, blocks EMFs, but it actually helps the blood. It really does benefit. Yeah, it's just quite amazing. And the next test we did was on an iPad. And again, same process. The lady sat in the orientation phase for an hour. We took her blood. This is her baseline. Oops. And then we asked her to go on her iPad for 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, this was her blood. Now, there was a lot of stacking together of the red blood cells. It's what we call rouleau. And a lot of people can get this state of blood if they're dehydrated, or maybe they've reacted to a food, or they're particularly stressed. But it's very unusual to see it throughout the whole sample, which is what we did. And again, red blood cells' job is to deliver oxygen and nutrients around the body and take away waste products. And anything that's inhibiting, the flow of blood is going to have a knock-on effect on health. So I asked her to go back on her iPad, but to put the Photonic Square in front of the iPad. And after 20 minutes, we can see that this is her blood. And again, her blood improved beyond baseline. And then finally, I just want to share with you the iWatch, or the Smartwatch, that a lot of people are using for their health, to track their steps or to monitor their heart rate in the gym. So they think they're using them because it's a health benefit for them. But again, this is very sneaky, because this is the client's baseline blood after 1 hour orientation. You know, very good looking blood. And then I asked her to go on her smartwatch. And I was so surprised at her blood. It was very highly coagulated. And I think, you know, as you say, it's because there's this contact with the device on your skin.
Mm.
And this is probably, you know, one of the worst outcomes I had seen.
Mm. Well, how
So,
can the blood pump like that?
well, it won't. It's going to be affected.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to struggle. I mean, you can still, they still see some ones that are, you know, floating around, but that coagulation is affected gradually, you could say, because it's not got, you know, an underlying cause as such, you know, biologically, that it will start dispersing gradually by itself, you know, potentially. But it could take some time. And I think this is why, you know, people, when they're sitting in front of computers and, you know, they're on their phone a lot, they get all this brain fog, they get headaches, they feel agitated. And if they're on their devices at nighttime, they're not going to be sleeping as well, you know, afterwards. And I think this is all part of it. So I asked the client to use the iWatch again and just interact with it for another 20 minutes, but this time to put the photonic shield in her pocket. And boom, the blood just went back to baseline again, and I would say improved beyond baseline. So it's quite a common theme that was happening here. So it's just, you know, it's incredible. It's, you know, as I said, I've seen over the years how people's blood are affected by food and diet and nutrition and water, but I've never really looked at EMF protection devices and how our blood is affected by EMFs. So yeah, it's quite astounding. And yeah, I just think over the years, there's been this uptick with EMFs wherever we go, in office buildings, wherever we go into shops and supermarkets. We can't get away from this Wi-Fi. So
what about the electromagnetic fields coming off electric cars, because you're surrounded by an enormous amount there?
Yes, well, I have actually seen similar tests done with live blood analysis in electric cars.
Yeah.
And yeah, the same effect happens. So you're driving along an electric car and, you know, it's affecting you. There's no doubt about that as well. So I think, you know, technology, you know, needs to keep up. We need to keep up with this technology, I should say, and to be looking at protection now is so important, because, you know, this isn't going to go away. It's part of our life for a lot of people. And yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're interesting devices because they're completely passive. They don't have a power source per se. There's no battery or anything. There's nothing to recharge. You just have them on the device or carry them in your pocket, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. They sort of give off a subtle energy field just by themselves.
Yeah.
And they do their work. And, you know, people often say, well, how can that be? But I always say, well, you think of a microchip, how tiny that is. And you know, we all just know that has an ability to do amazing things.
Yeah.
So, you know, also the protection technology has the ability to do just as amazing things as well.
Yeah. Well, no, it's interesting as well. I did some videos on cymatics and on bioresonance, and it all ties into the same stuff, that if you have the right frequency, everything will normalize itself.
Yes, it's so true. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
We have a biofield around us that goes out, you know, 6 feet from our body. You know, we're all emitting energy, and you know, the human body has a specific energy, and it resonates also with the earth. You know, when we have that disconnect from the earth, it also sort of causes the blood to be affected as well.
Yeah.
And I think we were talking earlier about how important it is for grounding. Just going bare feet on the ground can really help to charge up the cells and make it flow a lot better.
Yeah.
We're so disconnected with our rubber soles and our inner city living.
Exactly.
Yeah. And also I think, you know, when we're living, even if we choose not to have Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi will come in from our neighbors. We know that. We pick it up on our phones, you know, and if you're in an apartment block, you could pick up 5 or 10 different Wi-Fi choices if you could log into them all. So they go through walls. So we are bombarded, and it's so, so important now to look at areas or ways that we can protect ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, that's what fascinated me with this, was that unless you're out in the middle of nowhere or you're in a Faraday cage, you've got no choice but to be exposed to this. So if you could carry a passive card, it's the same size as a credit card, with you, either in a lanyard or you know, in your pocket, you are effectively changing the game health-wise. And I've noticed, for me, I sleep so much better. And I was surprised, because I've always slept well anyway, but I sleep longer, it's more restful. And I was saying before that I'm in front of the screens quite a lot, unless I'm out getting my hands dirty like now. But it's I don't get the same kind of eye tiredness and the blurry vision I was getting a lot. And I put that down to just having that, because it's the only thing I've changed recently.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Mm.
And also what you say about sleep, because sleep is the only time the body regenerates and repairs.
Yep.
So, you know, a lot of the time people are affected by these EMFs from our devices, also the blue light. You know, we have to bring that into it. So not getting that deep REM sleep, and, you know, waking up tired from that. And, you know, sleep is so important for many health conditions. But, you know, if our blood's inhibited and it's not delivering oxygen and nutrients, you know, we know that hypoxia, or, you know, lack of oxygen, you know, it can also be implicated with cancer. And we know there's a lot of, there's so many studies out there about EMF radiation being carcinogenic. And I do feel it's, you know, potentially linked to this blood clotting that happens. So we're not delivering oxygen. And if this, you know, cumulative effect, if it carries on every day, and we're just not really paying attention to our, you know, the potential of the EMFs affecting our blood in this way, then it could lead on to problems, or at least contribute towards problems that we may have.
I think it could have a cumulative effect, and, you know, no one has been able to, or has taken it upon themselves to do a long-term study of this. And what happens if you wear that smartwatch 24/7? What happens if you're on your device 10, 12, 15 hours? You're in your electric car, you're in front of your smart TV, you're passing by all the stuff that's coming off. Yeah, it is completely around us. So anything that's effective, which this clearly is, you know, is of tremendous benefit and tremendous use.
Yeah, we just can't get away from it. Going to the supermarket, going to office buildings. And as I said, even walking along the street now, you know, we've got the cell towers everywhere, and also street lights emit EMFs. And I've taken readings off them, and, you know, some of them are off the scale. So it's so important. We think we're going to go walk our dog and get some fresh air and get out of our home to get away from the Wi-Fi, and actually it's out on the streets now as well. So unless we're going to go and stand in the middle of a forest, which I love doing anyway, we can't really get away from it that easily. So anything that's going to help us to protect us is so important.
Wonderful. Well, thank you once again.
No, thank you.